A logo format might be the hardest logo you ever design because it needs to work in small size, it needs to not look cluttered, and it needs to compete against all the other app logos that exist today. And it also has to engage the audience within seconds of seeing it. And it needs to be invited enough where they click it right away from the get go and they understand exactly what you are about and what you stand for. And this means to have no clutter, no extra mess, to get straight to the point, have something that's uniquely yours, and having one clear idea. And most brands get this wrong because they just shrink the logo down, and they get this wrong entirely because it no longer fits and no longer makes sense. A good logo isn't just shrinking the size down, it's to design it for a specific purpose so that it can work in any size and for multiple purposes like an app icon as well. So in this video, we'll be covering the key differences between a good app icon and how you can design your app icon for what you need to do in your brand. And we'll be looking at some examples of great app icons that exist today and what they do successfully. So let's get into it. So tip number one is to make sure that you have only one shape, not to have multiple things going on across the platform, because having this will just confuse your audience and it will be harder to remember. The whole point of a simple logo is to have something where within the first few seconds of them seeing it, they can draw this from memory. And this is how you know you have something really successful on your hand, especially if it's really simple and easy to draw. Because doing so will make sure that the audience will remember exactly what you've made, and it sticks out and instantly is recognized. Because if they can recognize you instantly, then you're more likely that they will come into the door and potentially buy from you. And Spotify does this really well. It's just a simple circle with three wave lines, and they stuck to this and didn't add and overclutter the shapes and the environment. And when you see this on an app icon, it works really well. And the simpler the shape is, the better it will be. The second tip is using color and making it yours through color only. Because the truth is, you're competing against thousands and thousands of different apps across the platform. So you want to stand out from the rest, and doing this can be extremely difficult to do so. So having color, a specific color that's only yours and your brand is known by, can make it a lot easier for you to stand out. Now, when you're designing your logo, make sure you're not going off color first, especially at the beginning when you're coming up with a concept. You want to go with black and white and make sure it works as black and white first before you go ahead and add color and design on black and white as you design initially. Then you're more likely to have something successful and something that works. But if you rely solely on color to make your concept work, then chances are your concept could be weak. So make sure it's black and white first, then you add the color. But having the color makes you stand out from the rest, especially if the color, tone, and the shade hasn't been overused and it becomes completely yours over time. So keep this in mind when you're designing. Tip number three is to design for a specific purpose. Make sure that when you're creating the app icon, you're creating it for a specific need. Make sure that it works in a rounded square, and that's the app icon format. Doing so will make sure that it doesn't look cluttered and there's no extra back and forth. And doing this will make sure that the platform crops everything else and you avoid cutting out extra details and things like that. So always design for that specific shape, and it will also make sure that you avoid going back and forth a few times to get this right and cropping things and leaving things out and stuff like that. So make sure you have this in your mind. You're designing for something that fits into app icon, the rounded square. So keep this in mind throughout the process. Tip number four, it must work in a very small size. And the reason for this is because the app icon itself is going to be extremely small. It's going to be as big as your fingertip. If it doesn't work in the size, then it won't be able to last long as an app icon. So make sure that it works as tiny as possible, scale it all the way down, and then if it still looks cluttered, make sure you simplify the logo and refine it to that simple level where it's recognized right away, even with the smaller size. Make sure you get this right from the get-go to avoid confusion and iterations down the line. Tip number five. This is one of the designs that I've done for Kerner, a brand called Kerner, and it's a app using AI as a friendly day-to-day managing the tasks for day-to-day activities. It's a human to bot connection, and you can see the app icon here is really simple and easy to recognize. I've done it in white, and the brand color is purple, but as I said, you need to start as black and white first and then add color later. And it works in a single color, and it can compete with the rest of the apps out there in that niche. So you can see the size, it works small, and as you scale it down, it would completely work as well because it's so simple, and the rest of the shapes outside it is bold and it's precise, so it doesn't need changes to simplify it further, because if you simplify it any further, it will lose its meaning. So that's what you want to aim towards. Make it so simple that if you simplify it anymore, it'll start to lose meaning. And once you get to that stage where you don't need to cut anything else out, or you can't afford to take anything else out without it losing complete meaning, then you've got the simplest form of that concept. And if you want a mark and a logo that just looks right, click the first link in the description to book a 30-minute free consultation call with myself, and I'll be happy to help you in any way that I can. Thank you guys for watching my video. I hope you found this video useful, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you very much.